Hi everybody, welcome back to Core Balance. Today is our dedicated balance class, and we're going to try to target our cores and improve our core strength in an effort to improve our overall balance. To start off, we're going to go ahead and sit in a comfortable position, and of course we're going to start with those neck rolls. Just taking it nice and easy, rotating from side to side. Of course, doing what we always do, taking some extra time on any tense spots. And while we're getting started, try to keep in mind that breath and that posture. Sending that gaze up and down, taking right ear to right shoulder, left ear to left shoulder, just working out any of those kinks. Good. Nice deep breath here as we roll out the shoulders, warming up the sockets and the joints. And switch directions if you haven't already. Continuing to breathe. Sitting up nice and tall. And taking an arm across the body, dropping the shoulder away from the ear. And maybe roll out the wrists a time or two. And same thing to the opposite side. Drawing that shoulder down away from the ear. Continuing to breathe. And release. Anything else you need to do to get ready for today's class, go ahead and do so. And then when you're ready, we're going to go ahead and bring the soles of our feet together, drawing our feet in toward our body. Remember, sit up nice and tall, stacking that spine. Elongate that neck. And from here, we're going to gently fold over, bringing our forehead down toward the soles of our feet. Continuing to breathe here, and on a big inhale, coming up slightly, and on that next big exhale, trying to draw in a little bit closer down toward our mat. Gently relaxing that neck, and another inhale in, rolling all the way up to the top. Once more, deep breath in, and on that exhale, folding over, trying to go a little bit farther this time. Really drawing in that forehead toward the feet. And release, rolling all the way up. A couple of butterflies here. Just bringing the knees up and down. Trying to increase some mobility, keeping that core nice and strong. I know we're not really using it right now, but try to engage your core now while we're not trying to use it. Rocking back and forth a couple of times. Good. From here, we're going to go ahead and recline back when you're ready. Just letting that spine melt into the mat. Finding that breath. And from here, go ahead and bring those feet up toward the sky, working through a couple times, pointing and flexing the foot, and just warming up those hamstrings, letting gravity do what it does, forcing our circulation in the opposite direction, draining any fluid that we've built up in our lower extremities. And once you're feeling warmed up, go ahead and drop those legs, bringing the knee to a 90. We're going to do some bicycle crunches here. Just getting in the rhythm of things, and once you're there, we're going to start alternating those knees and elbows to do a little bit of a twisting motion. Just at your own pace, continuing to breathe. Don't ever hold your breath here. We're just starting to wake up those core muscles, maybe build a little bit of heat, and release, dropping that back down to the mat, bringing the feet in toward the backside, and when you're ready, we're going to lift that pelvis up toward the sky, stretching those abs in the opposite direction. Continuing to breathe here. And on an exhale, dropping that pelvis back down to the mat. Next big inhale, lift. Continuing to breathe as we hold the pose. And on an exhale, when you're ready, we're going to drop it back down to the mat. Once more, big breath in, lifting that pelvis up a little bit farther this time, really feeling that stretch through your core. And dropping it back down to the mat. Lifting those legs once more. From here, we're going to do some half lift crunches. So just lifting, crunching until the shoulder blades come up off the mat, and continuing to do this at your own pace, continuing to breathe, and keeping that core nice and strong. If this is a little too much and you want to drop the legs, go ahead and do so, just whatever is comfortable to you, while we try to build some heat through our core. A few more here at your own pace. You've got this. And release. Hands back down to the sides, lifting that pelvis up on a big inhale, and continuing to breathe as we hold the pose, dropping that pelvis down on an exhale. Inhale in and lift, half bridge. And exhale, drop it down. One more time. Prep yourself, big breath in and lift really high this time, keeping a soft bend in the back of the neck though. And on that exhale, dropping it down. Lifting the legs once more, back into those bicycle crunches. Touching your elbow to the opposite knee, getting that twisting motion, feeling that through the obliques and the core. At your own pace here, continuing to breathe. And release. Lifting into that half bridge, continuing to breathe. And lower. Deep breath in and lift. Big exhale and lower. One more time. Full inhale in and lift. And a complete exhale, lowering down to the mat. Lifting those legs once more. And from here, we're going to do some toe taps. Extending one leg out at a time, tapping it down to the mat while we keep the other up in the air. Just alternating between your left and your right. Trying to keep track of how many you do on each side. You want to make sure that it's even. For today's video, we're going to make our way to 10. Just a few more here. 10 on each side. Staying strong. And hug those knees in. Rock it side to side. Massage out that back. Maybe drawing those knees in toward our underarms, just really feeling that full stretch. And when you're ready, we're going to rock back and forth, eventually building enough momentum to come up to a standing. Great work. Bring it up to the top of our mat here. Taking a few moments just to find that breath. Maybe bring the hands to the stomach or the diaphragm just to really feel that breath, and count your inhales and match that count on the exhale. Finding that center, still engaging that core while we breathe. Breathing all the way in and up, and swan dive forward, hands down to the mat. From our forward fold, sending it back into a plank. using this opportunity to stretch those fingers out nice and wide, turning the fingertips out slightly, and locking in that core as we slowly lower down and push up into an upward dog. Curl the toes under, send it back into a downward dog, and pedal out the hamstrings, drawing those heels in toward the mat, sending that tailbone up toward the sky, and pressing away from the hands. Try to feel that balance shift into your right leg, sending the left leg up toward the sky, and with control, bring that knee in toward the nose. Sending it back out. This time as we bring it in, sending it over to the corresponding arm. Back out. Bring it through to the opposite arm. Back out. One more time, bringing the knee in toward the center, toward our nose. And extend and drop that leg carefully. Pump out the heels a few more times. Readjust your hands as needed. Go ahead and prep, sending that weight into the left leg this time, lifting the right up toward the sky, and bring that knee in toward our nose. Sending it back out, right knee to right elbow, and back, right knee to left elbow, and back, and knee toward the nose, and back, carefully dropping that foot. With control, walking up toward the top of our mat here, taking it easy, staying in this forward fold. And with control, rolling up little by little until you reach the top. Great job. Breathing all the way in and up. Swan dive forward into a fold. Coming up halfway. And dropping all the way into that forward fold, hands down to the mat. Send it back into a plank. Tightening that core, finding that strength. Maybe rocking back and forth a couple of times to really fire up those abs, and lower. Down into upward dog. Back into downward dog. Pushing away from those hands, relaxing the neck. And just as before, picking a leg. And when you're ready, bring it up toward the sky. Sending that knee through to your nose and back. Knee to the elbow and back. Knee to opposite elbow and back, staying strong. Knee to nose. Sending that heel up toward the sky and carefully dropping it down, pumping out the heels. I'm sure we're all feeling it by now, but we're going to lift that other leg up toward the sky, bringing it through to our nose. Back up to the sky, knee to the elbow. And back, knee to opposite elbow. Last time, knee to nose. You've got this. And drop that leg. Go ahead and come down, knees to the mat, sending it into a well-deserved child's pose. Let your forehead rest down on the mat and push away from the hands, maybe walking the fingertips a little farther away from the body. You can even draw your hands up onto the tips of your fingertips, really stretching all those little ligaments in the hands a couple times, like little spider hands. Whatever you need to do. Just using this rest. Continuing to breathe. and rise up onto all fours. Weight evenly distributed between our knees and our hands, stacking the knees with the hips and the hands, elbows and shoulders. And from here, we're going to loop the shoulders back, tightening in that core, bringing the belly button in toward our spine, and press away from the tops of the feet, lifting those shins up off the mat. Staying strong and continuing to breathe. Once you start to feel that shake, go ahead and lower it down and roll out those wrists a couple of times if you need to. Back to all fours, weight evenly distributed between those 4 points. And as soon as you're ready, pressing the tops of the feet into the mat and lifting those shins up off the mat, tightening that core. Keep that belly button locked into the spine, staying strong, continuing to breathe. Just a few more breaths. And lower. Great job. We're almost there. Go ahead and lift one more time. Don't hold that breath. Continue to breathe. Feeling that energy, feeling that shake, and lower. Great job. Send it back. Roll out those wrists one more time. Back onto all fours here. And lift those knees up off the mat into a plank. We're just going to hold this plank here for a moment. Maybe rocking back and forth. Drop that tailbone down. Try not to point your backside up toward the ceiling too much, just keeping a straight line from the tip of our head all the way down through our heels. Continue to breathe. Send it back into a downward dog. Drop those knees if you need to readjust. Take a breath. Don't push it too hard. You know your limits. And as soon as you're ready, sending it back into that plank. Dropping the tailbone. Bring that belly button in toward the spine. And really push away from the hands. Continue to breathe. And back into a downward dog. Dropping those knees. Loop those shoulders back. And we're going to go into some good old cat and cows. So as we drop our belly down toward the mat, we're drawing in a full breath. And on that exhale, rounding the back over, looking down toward the mat. At your own pace, breathing in as we lower the belly. And as we round the back, forcing that air out in an exhale. A few more times here. Good. And back to a neutral. Nice flat back here. Bring your right leg back behind you, flexing that foot. Opposite arm out in front. Really tighten in that core. And dropping it back down. We've done these bird dogs before. You know the drill. Lifting the opposite leg this time. Opposite hand. Keeping that balance. Bring that belly button in just a little bit tighter and drop it down. Again, back on that starting leg and starting hand. Lowering down to the mat. And opposite leg. Keeping that balance and lowering it down. Here we're going to mix it up a little bit using that same concept, that same motion. Send out your right leg. Left arm comes back to grab the top of the foot. Good. Just try your best here. This is our first round, first time doing this pose, and release. Opposite leg sends back, reaching back with the other hand to grab the top of the foot. Good. Just bowed back, keeping that balance. If this is too much, you can always stick with those bird dogs. Go ahead and send it back into a child's pose for a moment to rest. And right back into it. Flat back. Remember, just do what you can. Once more with these bow poses. Pick a leg, bring it back, reaching for the foot. Staying strong, continuing to breathe. And release. Opposite side this time, sending that leg back and up. Opposite arm reaches around to grab the top of the foot, bringing it back into a bow. Tightening that core and release. Awesome job, you guys. Stretch it out. Walk those fingertips away from the body. Feel that stretch through the shoulder, through our back. And when you're ready, we're going to send it back into a downward dog. Pumping out the heels a few times if you need. And walk it toward the front of the mat here. Twisting it out in that forward fold. And drawing in a really deep breath as we roll up little by little to a standing. For this next set, if you have a yoga block or a stack of pillows or something that you want to use, go ahead and grab that now as we transition into our next set. Wide stance here, arms out. We're going to send it forward to our forward shin in an extended triangle. When you're ready, dropping it down a little bit further into an extended lateral angle. And finding that block or stack of pillows, we're going to kind of kick off that back leg, sending it up toward the sky in a half moon. This is going to take a couple of tries to get used to. If you need to do it a few times, feel free, do it as many times as you'd like. It's a little bit tough, but it's a really great balance pose. And release, rolling up one vertebra at a time. Opposite side, back into that wide stance. Sending the arms out nice and wide in a T shape. Drawing forward, extended triangle. Dropping a little lower, extended lateral angle. And find that block and kick up off that back leg, carefully sending it up toward the sky in a half moon. Find a spot on the floor to focus on. Really keep that balance as best as you can. Lock in that core and release into that forward fold. Great job. That's not easy, but you did it. Roll up one vertebra at a time. Back on that first side, nice wide stance. Arms out to the side and extend down, triangle. Dropping a little lower into that lateral angle. Find your block or your support. And when you're ready, kicking up off that back leg, bringing it up toward the ceiling, and find a spot to focus on. It's okay if you lose your balance a couple times, just right back into it when you can. And release. Rolling up from that forward fold and extending to that opposite side, nice wide base. Arms out, extended triangle, lowering down into that lateral angle. Find your support. When you're ready, kick up off that back leg and laser vision focused into that spot on the floor to keep your balance. Continuing to breathe. You've got it. Just a few more counts. And release. Find that breath. And up one vertebra at a time from that forward fold to a standing. Next, if you've been coming to our classes for a while, you are going to be pretty familiar with the warrior sequence, and we're going to add in a warrior 3 today. So in that nice wide stance, we're going to bring it up into a warrior 1. From here, extending it forward, hovering over that front thigh, and just like with that last pose, that half moon, we're going to lock in our core and push up off that back leg, finding that balance and keeping a really soft bend in that base knee, okay? Laser vision into that spot on the floor, keeping the balance, and slowly dropping that foot and coming into a little bit of a chair before we come all the way up. Great job. Opposite side this time, back into that nice wide base. Back foot is pivoted and up into a warrior 1. Sending it forward, locking in that core as we hover over the front thigh. And when you feel like you're ready, push up off that back leg and send it forward, almost like Superman, into that warrior 3. Keep a gentle bend in that base knee and continue to breathe as best we can, lowering down into a chair pose. Now check out my little friend that I had. I got a visitor while I was doing my yoga class. All right, back into that chair pose here. Setting the weight back into the heels and the backside. And all the way up. Hands to heart center. Once more, wide base to that first side. Back foot is pivoted. And up into that warrior 1, minding the knees and the toes in the front. Hovering over that front thigh. And when you're ready, push up off that back leg. This time you've got it. You're Superman. You're flying. Laser vision on that spot on the floor. And transition into that chair pose before we come all the way up. Awesome job. Opposite side. Back foot is pivoted. Strong base. All the way up. Warrior 1. Sending it forward. And when you're ready, lifting, flying. You've got it, warrior 3. Continue to breathe. Stay strong. I know it's so difficult, but you've got it. And release. Shake it out. All right, you guys, we're going to tie it all together. We're almost there. Breathing all the way up. And exhale, forward fold. Coming up halfway. And a complete fold, hands down to the mat. Stepping it back into a plank. From our plank, lowering down and cycling through to an upward dog. And when you're ready, send it back into a downward dog. Pumping out those heels, pushing away from the hands, relax that neck. Just settle in for a moment. When you're ready, pressing that weight into our right leg, lifting that left up into the sky, and bring that knee through to a low lunge. Pivoting that back foot. When you're ready, lifting up into a warrior 1, opening to a warrior 2, cycling it forward to hover over that front thigh. And just what we've practiced for, kick up off that back leg into a warrior three. You've got it. Continuing to breathe. And drop it down into that chair pose. Breathing all the way in and up and opening back to that wide base. Extended triangle. Lowering into that extended lateral angle. Finding that platform that we built for ourselves before and kicking up that back leg. Finding that balance in a half moon. You've got it. You're doing great. Lowering it down into that forward fold. And find your breath. One vertebra at a time, rolling all the way up from that forward fold. Shoulders come back, and then our chin is parallel to the floor. Shake it out, and right back into it. All the way in and up. Forward fold. Halfway lift on an inhale, and exhale, complete fold, hands to the mat. Step it back into a plank. And with a tight core, slowly lowering ourselves down, chaturanga, and pushing up into an upward dog. Find that breath once again. Curl those toes under and send it back into a downward dog. Pushing away from the hands. Opposite leg this time. Pressing in, balancing that weight. And when you feel like you're ready, lifting that leg up toward the sky and stepping it through to a low lunge. From our lunge, coming up into a warrior one. Transitioning open to a warrior two. From here, cycling that weight forward, hovering over that front thigh. And when you're ready, you know what to do. Pressing up off that back leg into that warrior three, that Superman flying through the air. You've got it. Hold it for a little bit longer. And release down into that chair pose. Find your breath. All the way in and up. Back open to that wide base. Hands out. Send it forward to that triangle. Transitioning down into that lateral angle. And finding that platform, that base you built for yourself. Lifting up and open into a half moon. Slowly and with control. You've got it. Keep that balance, keep that focus, and carefully let it go. Forward fold. Full inhale in as we roll all the way up to a mountain pose, and shake it out. When you're ready, we're going to breathe all the way in and up, sending it down into a chair pose. Holding it here for a moment, setting that weight into our backside, and breathing all the way in and up. This time picking a knee and lifting it up toward the sky, 90-degree little Captain Morgan stance. Bring that leg across like we're going to sit cross-legged, and then drop that weight back into a seated four. Coming out of it slowly, releasing all the way in and up. From here, that same leg that we lifted and brought across, we're going to bring it up into a tree pose. Either at the ankle, the calf, or bypassing the knee, bringing that foot all the way into the thigh. And when you're ready, bringing those prayer hands up overhead and extending those branches out to the side. Gently lowering down, hands at heart center. And breathe all the way in and up. Once more, dropping back into that chair pose. Weight settling into the heels and the backside. Inhale, lift. And opposite leg this time comes into that Captain Morgan. Bringing the ankle across the top of the thigh. And settling into that cross-legged chair pose. Feeling that opening up through our glutes. Breathing all the way in and up, gently releasing. And once again, opposite side this time, into a tree pose. Find that balance, find that spot on the floor to focus on, and when you're ready, those prayer hands come up and overhead. Breathing in, and extend those branches all the way out to the side, keeping that balance, locking in that core. Gently release. Breathing all the way in and up, hands at heart center. Once more to each side, breathing all the way in and up, and back into that chair pose. Weight in the heels, weight in your backside. Breathing in and up, flowing right into that leg lift. Gently bringing that ankle across the thigh, and settling in to that cross-legged chair pose. Locking in that core, pressing the hands together nice and tight. And release, breathing all the way in and up. Great job. That same leg that we were just working with, bringing it either to the ankle, the calf, or to the inner thigh, bypassing the knee. Find your balance. Hands at heart center, pressing together nice and tight. When you're ready, breathe all the way in and up. And extend those branches out to the side. Exhale. Gently release, coming back to that standing. Right into the other side, breathing all the way in and up. Down into that chair pose. Really try to tighten that core as much as you can. In and up. Right into that cross-legged chair. Settling in, feeling that stretch through the glutes. And release, breathing all the way up. Same side we were just working with, bringing that foot to the ankle, the calf, or pulling it up to the inner thigh. Finding that balance. And when you're ready, sending that sprout up toward the sky. And blooming open, sending those branches out to the side in a full tree pose. Continuing to breathe, and on your next exhale, gently lowering down. Awesome work. We're going to mix things up just a little bit, doing a modified eagle pose. Go ahead and come to your tiptoes on one leg, crossing it over your base leg, and kind of tuck that foot back behind your calf. And when you're ready, just like with that chair pose, we're going to settle in like you're going to sit down and take a seat. And instead of binding our arms, we're going to bring the forearms and the palms together right in front of our face and our chest in a modified eagle. Sending it out, releasing that pose gently and gracefully. And sending that opposite leg across, and just as before, settling in. Eagle pose, you're perched up on your nest, nice and high in the sky, and you're ready to take flight, opening all the way up and out. Awesome work today, you guys. We're going to end class seated in a comfortable position, taking our right leg and extending it out to the side and back behind us. Twisting away from our legs here in a modified seated twist. Just feeling that stretch through our spine and our neck and across our chest, as well as down in our hips. Continuing to breathe. And release. Back to that seated. Opposite leg this time comes out and around. And twisting back gently. Feeling that stretch, releasing that tension, and continuing to breathe. Full breath in. And on that exhale, release. Sending the feet out in front of us into a staff pose. Flexing those feet. And we're going to do a little forward fold, keeping a flat back all the way up to the tippy top until we can't anymore. If you'd like, grabbing hold of the legs or the ankles or the feet, just pulling yourself in toward your legs, and then slowly rolling up one vertebra at a time. Soles of the feet together, drawing in close to the body. Cobbler's pose. And if you'd like, sending it forward into a fold, bringing that forehead down toward the feet and opening through the hips. Gently bring it back up into a neutral seated position, hands either in the lap or on your knees, and just take a couple breaths here, clearing your headspace, using these last couple seconds for yourself. Soften that jaw, soften those muscles in your face, maybe give yourself a little smile. We're going to end today's class in the seated position, but if you'd like to recline back and take a few more moments for yourself, go ahead and do so. But I want to thank you for tuning into this week's class. I hope that you're all well and continue to be well. Namaste.